gentlemen, it is 3 o'clock, so we will start on time, and I can always take questions at the end. Thank you for coming. I'm probably going to talk for 15-20 minutes, no more than that, but I imagine lots of people will have lots of questions, because from my experience they often do, and that will leave us plenty of time to talk through those questions, any concerns, any thoughts you might have. I've just given exactly this presentation to your offspring. So they left the room with one of these and one of those bits of paper that you're going to take on the way out. And the idea is that we start to triangulate our conversations. So the things that I say today, they're able to talk to you about and to their form tutor about, and between us we can make sure that everybody makes the right choices. I'm going to start with a little personal anecdote, and it's an anecdote that underlines the approach to building the curriculum that we've taken here. Because those of you who've been having a look through this booklet as you've been waiting will see that we don't offer a huge range of different subjects, and we don't offer a huge range of different subject combinations. And it would be easy to say that's because we're a small school, but actually it's not. This was always the idea here at Holyport College. And it wasn't my idea, but it's an idea when I saw this advertised, I thought, yes, I agree with that. Philosophically education, this seems like the right approach for me. And that comes from my own experience with GCSE options, because when I was 13, 14, when I was in year 9, I was an August birthday, I was one of the youngest in the year group, and I had a tendency to be a bit of a brat, if I'm honest. You would never know now, of course. So I could be a pain. And in the run-up to my GCSE options, I had a big falling out with my physics teacher, Mr. Roberts. Mr. Roberts had really bad acne on the back of his neck. And there was a whole thing in my year group that when Mr. Roberts was helping you with his work, he'd be leaning over the desk, his acne was going to pop on your book. It was the running joke amongst the students. It was really cruel. But as we know, teenagers can be cruel. So we as a year group all decided that we didn't like Mr. Roberts, and therefore we didn't like physics. And way back then, you could choose which of the sciences you studied. Now you study all of them, and the question is how much of them you study. But back then, you could choose. So I dropped physics. And instead I took 3 humanities, geography, history, RS, and I took music, and explored other interests, and didn't think much more of it. And I did very well in my GCSEs at the time. I got 7 A's, 2 A stars, and a B, and I thought, great, the world is my oyster. And I went to an A-level options fair, which was at in the summer, in the interim, before we started our A-level courses. And I already knew what I wanted my career to be. I wanted to be an engineer. My father was a civil engineer. He built bridges in Papua New Guinea and a couple in the UK. And I'd always been heavily influenced by that. I thought, that's what I want to do. So I went along to the A-level careers fair and I marched straight up to the engineering guy and said, right, what do I need? And he said, physics, maths, rest are up to you. I said, right. So I marched back up to Mr. Roberts, who was by then head of physics, who was in the other room. So we had the careers in one room and the teachers in the other. So, Mr. Roberts, can I do A-level physics? And he said no. And here I am today. So actually it didn't damage me, and probably being an engineer wasn't the right thing for me, because I don't think when you're 13, 14, many people are really well placed to know what it is they want to do. They think they know, and they may well aspire to do what the parents have done, or to do glamorous jobs they've seen on the TV. Lots of people say doctor, lots of people say lawyer, nobody says management consultant. Right? People only say that when they're 22 and they realise how much those guys are taking home in salary. And so I think what we want to do is create a system of options and a curriculum which genuinely does not close any doors. Whatever subjects and whatever combination your offspring choose, that's okay, don't worry. Whatever combinations they choose from the options available to them here, no doors will close to them. And that is the most important part of this process. I'll come into specific subjects and what they mean and how they combine together shortly. But it looks like a very academic curriculum. And there will be people sat here thinking, well, what about those who aren't quite as academic? The other personal story I could say to that is this. My daughter's 20 months old, so I don't know how bright she'll be, I don't know how academic she'll be. And genuinely, despite my job, I don't care. I want her to be happy. And if she's happy with not such good grades as other students in her year, and that she's flourishing and fulfilling her life, genuinely, personally, philosophically, that would make me the happiest man in the world. However, I do believe that she should have the opportunity to learn about history through school. I do believe that through school she should have the opportunity to learn a language, to learn about geography, That doesn't mean that I expect her to get A's and A stars in those subjects or equivalent. I've said words or equivalent a lot today. That does not mean that I would expect her necessarily even to get C's in those subjects or equivalent. But I want her to learn about them, because how can she be a valuable citizen of the world if she doesn't know something about the world's history and hasn't experienced what it's like to speak and to listen and to learn and to think in a different language? And so actually sometimes the things we study, it's very easy to get hung up on the exam grades and what comes out of them, and how many C's do we get, and how many C's including English and maths do we get, and what percentage AMA star do we get. And those things are important, but they mustn't override the importance of learning. And the curriculum that we offer at GCSE sits with the philosophy of the college, that learning and learning about the things in that leaflet is important in its own right, not just at GCSE. So those are our two bottom line principles, and that is why you see a shorter list of subjects and not quite such a broad curriculum as you may see in other places. But we do that unapologetically and with all of our students' best interests at heart. So I'm going to talk through a few of the technicalities of the qualifications, a few of the national changes that people might experience. Don't worry if you can't see the screen, I'll say everything that's on it and I'll send the slides out afterwards. They're more for me to remind me what I'm saying. But I will leave plenty of time for questions as well. So first of all, you'll see a lot in the press about GCSEs getting easier, about dumbing down, about some GCSEs not being as valuable as other GCSEs. You'll read things about the Wolf Report, the Scott Report, that was a different one, and all of these different government-led reports from different agencies trying to work out what's important in the GCSE and where media studies ranks against law, ranks against English literature. We try not to enter too much into the debates there, apart from to say that every qualification we offer at GCSE is a high-value qualification. We have chosen the high-value specifications, and I'll go into technicalities and what that means in a second. We have not shied away from the challenging courses, because ultimately we believe in our teachers, we believe in our students, and we believe that if we teach them well and the students work hard, they will do well. And we back ourselves there. So they are high-value qualifications. We are, as I said, narrowing the options down to provide genuine choice later. Less choice now, so that more choice in 2 years' time and 4 years' time, whatever path our students choose. And also, this is really important, no chance of being damaged by the changing educational landscape. Now, it's quite hard to present in a way that makes sense to everybody on this, because different people will have varying degrees of knowledge on the politics behind GCSE in the minute and what's going on at governmental level. So I'll some of what I'll say will be at quite a low level, some will be at a higher, and I suppose this is one of the slightly higher level things. But you'll have read, those of you who followed these things 2 years ago, about things like dual entry and IGCSE, where schools were taking, for English and maths especially, they were playing a league table game, and they were entering students for 3 different exam boards, for GCSE and for IGCSE, and banking the best grade, which was invariably a C when you do that. Nobody's getting more than a C. So that the school could say to the government, look how well we did because we got this percentage through over that boundary. We don't take any risks there. We do the things that we know to be most challenging so that nobody can turn around and discredit the qualifications that our students have gained in a few years' time. Please do come in. Please do come in. There's plenty of space. Because I do fear for those students whose schools say, I know, we're going to do BTEC Science and IGCSE English and Maths, because that's going to get them fired and make the school look good in league tables. I worry about those guys and their qualifications in the real world in 3 years' time when all of those qualifications have been discredited. So we're not taking risks. Next slide. These are the subjects available to them, and it's probably much easier to see these in the little pamphlet you've got in your hand. First of all, the compulsory subjects. English language, English literature, compulsory. Mathematics, compulsory. Science, compulsory. All of our students have already started triple science, separate biology, separate chemistry, separate physics. That's quite controversial because many secondary schools in the local area nationally will only enter around 20% of their cohort for triple science believing it to be too difficult. The fact that when they do that, 100% of those students get very good grades does make me question how they can be that accurate in their decision making. A lot of those schools are also making that decision as early as year 8. Our belief here is that there is no need to make that decision yet. All of them have started triple science. At the end of year 10, if we have students who are really genuinely struggling with the triple science course, we will consider moving them to a dual science option, which is similar but a little less content and a little simpler at the top end. None of our students need to go down the road out to a single science. science route.
So that's one GCSE?
No, it's either 3 GCSEs or 2.
So it's not, okay.
So the triple, biology, chemistry, physics, is 3 separate GCSEs, and you may have an A in physics, a B in chemistry, and an A star in biology. If, in current year 11, this is 18 students, so about less than 25% of the cohort. If they move to the dual science route, it's still 2 GCSEs, and they're real GCSEs. It's not a BTEC, anything like that, but it will be 2 the same. So they'll study biology, chemistry, physics, and they'll get 2 Bs or 2 As. But if they're getting Bs or As, they'll be studying them, because why not? So that gives you 5 compulsory to start with: 2 English, 1 maths, 3 science. All of our students, in theory, will then also study a language. If we believe by the end of this year that studying a language will be detrimental to that student, so actually they may end up doing worse in other subjects because they really need some extra support in English or maths, and that time will be better used in English or maths than it would studying a language, then we will work with you and we'll talk to the students about it on an individual case-by-case basis. But for now, assume that they're going to do a language, and that will be the language they currently study on their timetable. If there's issues or concerns with that, please make a note on your options form and we'll follow them up. Obviously, all of our stuff is standardised, but I'm very happy to work with you and personalise this as far as we can. That leaves 3 more subjects, taking the total to 10. A straight choice initially between geography and history. Then a choice of geography, history, Spanish, art, and RS. You'll notice straight away that that means you can take both French and Spanish if you're able. You can take both geography and history if you're able. And then the final choice is a choice between music, drama, computing, PE, and RS again. Now obviously you can't choose RS there and there, but it's allowing different combinations of subjects to try and accommodate as many different possibilities as we can within the confines of our timetable. Our students will be asked in option column A and option column B to choose just 1 subject. I'm confident we can accommodate first preference there every time. In option column C, we do ask for a backup, but I will also say last year nobody had to go for the backup. Everybody got their first choice in option block C. And as our staff team grows next year, I don't see any reason why that would be any different. It's just easier to ask for the backup now than to come with my tail between my legs in 6 weeks' time and say, I'm really sorry, we can't do that, can you choose again? I'll also just point out, you'll be aware that not quite all of our teachers are subject specialists. I think this year we're about 85% of our lessons are taught by specialists in that individual subject. Areas where that's not currently the case are chemistry, RS, and the other one, which is computing. We have specialists employed for all of those subjects for next year. So we have a further 8 teachers coming on board next year, and we then have every single GCSE subject covered with a subject specialist, and every GCSE subject will be taught by a subject specialist or rather as well. I'm teaching that, not next year. It's fairly straightforward in terms of the blocks available to them. I've already had one student say to me, but I really wanted to do that combination. And it's about the only impossible combination on that. I won't tell you what it is, because if I tell you what it is, I can guarantee 40% of students going to I have said to that student, I'll look at it, but I can't promise. Because the problem comes, even if I could accommodate it in terms of staff hours next year on the timetable, it may be that I couldn't the following year when our A-level starts. So I do have to be careful and future-proof the college and work to get the best for everybody, but also within the budget and the limitations that we have. But as I say, this year, this is more choice than currently a 10 have, because we have more staff, and there were only 2 who really worked last year. Extras. Every year we pick up the Daily Mail and there's somebody else smiling on the front page, and I got 17 GCSEs. Obviously I'm only pitching you 10 today, and I'm deeply sorry about that. 10 GCSEs is the absolute maximum Eton College will allow its future Prime Ministers, politicians and world leaders to take. And I figure if that's okay for them, then we don't want to make them look bad. But there are a couple of extras. So students who have previously studied Latin and who the current Latin teachers believe would be good enough can take a Latin GCSE. They do that in co-curricular time, and it requires a lot of independent work, so they need to be really committed. But we have 8 students doing that currently. One of them is actually in year 9, and they're doing extremely well, so that's a possibility. Also, if somebody has a native language or a language they're extremely gifted at, they speak outside of the curriculum. Someone's already asked me to say about Hungarian, but if you speak Italian, if you're studying French at school, you haven't chosen Spanish on the curriculum, but you're fluent in Spanish.